Evans Humphreys. Alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, phones. These are all addictive activities that plague the entire world. Americans are seduced and tempted until these substances control every aspect of their lives. Yet many of the most addictive substances that can ruin families and deteriorate personal health are somehow legal. According to the article The Disease of the Pleasures by Jeffrey Kluger, the National Survey on Drug Use and Health found that more than 20 million Americans 12 and older had some kind of substance abuse disorder in 2018. This is a public health crisis and needs to be dealt with. One of these drugs that tends to stay under the radar when it comes to addictive properties is marijuana. I've seen the effects of long-term marijuana use firsthand through my father, who smoked pot from the time he was 13 to present day. I've seen the change in his personality as his drug use increased. Although marijuana can be used for medical purposes, I've seen it in its ultimate form, which is a highly addictive substance that can ruin lives. I feel strongly that marijuana should be illegal in all states, and I hope that this speech will open your eyes to the underbelly of marijuana use. Addiction is more than just a want to do something. It's an overwhelming need that can possess an individual until that need is fulfilled. This need exists because the individual becomes dependent on whatever their drug of choice is. This addictive agent in marijuana is known as THC. The high feeling that people experience while smoking marijuana is caused by THC stimulating brain cells to release dopamine. Dopamine is used for transmitting signals throughout your cells, but it also causes a feeling of pleasure. If an individual smokes too much marijuana, their body stops producing dopamine on its own and it begins relying on the THC to produce the dopamine for it. This is how people become dependent. Now, what are the side effects when somebody eventually does become dependent? First, according to Elixnaw.com, THC can raise your heart rate by 20 to 50 beats per minute. This can cause heart attacks and stroke in people with pre-existing heart issues. Second, THC can increase the chance of getting mental disorders as well as decrease the age of onset psychosis. This is especially dangerous in teens because their brains are still in development. Finally, marijuana makes you, for lack of a better word, stupid. According to drugfreeworld.org, a study of 129 college students found that among those who smoked the drug at least 27 of the 30 days before being surveyed, critical skills related to attention, memory, and learning were seriously diminished. Addiction is also different for everyone. Some people are genetically predisposed, and there's really no way to tell how someone will react to drugs. When you smoke marijuana, it's like playing Russian roulette with your entire life. What if you're the percentage of humanity who takes that one puff and can't function until you do it again? What if you're not the one who can smoke it and walk away? This is an awfully large risk to take with your life. Marijuana is a drug that causes serious health issues, and the only reason it is legal is because people who smoke it don't want to stop. Now that we have established a relative knowledge of the science behind marijuana use, we can move on to the cultural relevance of it. Marijuana grew to fame in the 1950s and 60s as part of the countercultural movement, specifically the Beatnik movement. The Beatnik movement was a social revolution whose members believed in rejecting conventional society and pushing their progressive beliefs through writing and music. According to HaydensFairyReview.com, the philosophy of the Beat generation included decriminalizing drugs and spiritually and sexually liberating the masses. Marijuana was the perfect drug for this movement. Using it was a sign of rejection and rebellion from modern society, and its effect caused a feeling of freedom. However, marijuana of the 60s is a lot different from the marijuana of today. The concentration of THC has increased, and dealers lace the drug with other chemicals such as arsenic or fentanyl. My generation has downplayed the dangers of weed. This is very easy to do when it comes in the form of a colorful gummy bear or a chocolate brownie. This drug is far more addictive now and has changed from a sign of rebellion to a debilitating agent of addiction. Not only does marijuana affect the individuals that use it, but it also affects the people who surround the addict. My father was a chronic marijuana smoker. From the time he woke up to the time he went to bed, he would smoke. I have good and bad memories of him, but the bad always had something to do with marijuana. He would have bouts of rage and psychosis, where he would be impossible to deal with, and quite scary to be around. He never stopped smoking it, and eventually it ruined our relationship with him. His actions resulted in him legally not being allowed to see us. My mother left him and our lives have become exponentially better. I've seen the effects marijuana has on people, and I would never wish it to happen to anyone else. Nobody smokes weed thinking that they will become an addict, and no one thinks that one puff could ruin their lives and their relationships with their loved ones. Marijuana is a drug that wears the face of a stranger. People believe it to be a harmless feel-good drug that can be used in medicine, but few know the debilitating effects that it has on mental and physical health. Imagine being taken away from your family because drugs have made you psychotic, being denied a job because you failed a drug test, or losing the ability to think for yourself because all you can think about is when you can smoke next. Is it really worth it to just smoke a drug that really has no positive effects other than a temporary feel-good? I hope that people will see the dark side of marijuana and outlaw it across America, and hopefully this speech will make you feel the same way.